Teamfight Tactics has 4 different maps. If you are ever wondering how to adapt your playstyle to every map, this is the video for you. I see it too many times. People play the same no matter what the map is or where the hexes are. It's kind of like driving the same way all over the country. You don't drive the same way you do in New York City as you do in Wyoming. Failing to adapt to each map, including the hex placements, leads to suboptimal play, which also leads into you losing LP. If you want to avoid that, keep on watching. This is BunnyMuffins. I've had a couple accounts in Challenger, and if this is your first time here, hit the subscribe button down below and ring that bell icon to get notified on my new videos right as they release. If you are looking for more information or links to other resources, I put all of that in my show notes below, so be sure to check that out. In this video, I'm going to show you my best advice on how to adapt to every map in TFT, so let me show you what to do. First, we are going to go into how every map works. TFT has a map representing each element: Cloud, Mountain, Inferno, and Ocean. Each element gives an elemental hex with a unique bonus based on the map. Keep in mind, the elemental hexes occupy an item slot, so they are mainly for your secondary carry or support in the late game. The champion, Kiana, also changes with the element of the map, making her fit in different compositions every game. I am going to go over what compositions are favored in each map, along with different micro strategies you can try to gain an edge in your next game. If you'd like to learn how to play each map step by step, head on over to my live stream at twitch.tv/BunnyMuffinsLOL to see actual gameplay and employment of each of the following strategies. I am live from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. US Eastern Time every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. First, we have the Mountain map, which gives 30 permanent health every round to your champion. This tile is the weakest in the game, but it gives a permanent bonus. In the beginning of the game, you can gain a slight edge by finding units you will play in the final composition you will be playing that game, by placing them on that square. That means it would be wise not to put druids on those squares, for example, if you have a better unit to put in for the late game, since you'll likely sell the druid at the end of the early game. If you do not find those units, think of units you'll play in the early game and just place them on those squares temporarily on the mountain tiles during the neutral rounds. This will give you a big boost in the first couple of rounds to make sure you have higher health to advance later into the game. In the mid game, place your late game squishy carries on these squares, such as Azir or Sivir, in order to give them more survivability in the late game. Lower health units benefit more from the mountain buff than tankier units because it is a higher percentage increase of their total health total. The mountain map makes Kiana have the mountain element, so be sure to take advantage of that. Normally, mountain synergy is very difficult to find as only Malphite and Taliyah have that synergy. Since Malphite is a 4-cost unit, he is most often difficult to find early. Also, Mountain is an early game synergy. It only buffs one unit. One unit buffs are typically better in the early game since there are fewer units on both teams. Therefore, once you find Malphite, you typically don't want to be running Taliyah anymore since she's a 1-cost unit. She'll be way too weak for those later stages in the game. This makes Mountain buff pretty weak overall, but on the Mountain map with the addition of Kiana, a 3-cost unit changes everything. Kiana herself is a strong unit, and now that we can get her as early as level 3, we can easily pair her with Taliyah for an insane early game advantage. The Mountain buff also gives 1500 shield to a random unit, and most early game units have less than 1000 health, making it a huge value element. As you transition to the late game, pairing Kiana with Malphite will still work since both of them are viable late game units. Lastly, percent health items gain a slight edge on this map, so their value goes up a tiny bit higher. Items such as Red Buff, Morellonomicon, and Giantslaye all deal more damage on the Mountain map due to the health buff. Next, we have the Cloud map. The Cloud map gives dodge chance to the unit on the hex for the entire round. The units you will want to put on these squares are your tank units in the front line or your primary carry if the hex is in the back line. This can be great against assassins and other physical damage units for your back line. Similar to the Mountain map, there are only 2 Cloud units, Janna and Yasuo. I know Lux is in there as well, but she is so far down the line that I am not including her in this scenario. The same tactic from before can be used by utilizing Kiana to have quicker access to Cloud synergy before Janna becomes available. While I'm not saying to go Cloud on this map every time, it makes compositions revolving around Janna or Yasuo to be slightly more attractive. While most compositions on this map are strong, I would avoid Blade Masters as their primary damage is from on-hit abilities. With added dodge to the game, it makes them all slightly weaker. I've seen some frontline tanks survive against full item Blade Masters, giving his team enough time to kill all of them and win the round. With this in mind, Wardens become very powerful on the Cloud map. Their increased armor, combined with the dodge mechanics, make them incredibly tanky against physical damage teams. I would definitely go for Wardens since they can become unkillable with dodge and require one less item because they could utilize that Hex. Lastly, spell-based compositions or AoE-based compositions perform really well on the Cloud map because dodge does not affect them. Having a carry such as Brand or Lux can provide huge value because of this. As for items, dodge items have slightly less value because dodge stacking does not mathematically combine well in teamfight tactics. I'll release a guide later on how all stats and items stack, but for now, let's move on. Riot also removed the mechanic of attacks cannot be dodged, which used to exist in the Wild Synergy and the item Rapid Fire Cannon. Until Riot brings these back, no items will have a distinct advantage in TFT on the Cloud map. Now we move on to some of our damage elements. Inferno tile gives attack speed to the unit for the duration of the round. This highly amplifies attack speed oriented compositions such as Blade Masters and Assassins. This is fantastic for backline champions like Ashe, Kindred, Azir, Twitch, Sivir, and Nocturne. Spellcasters can also benefit from the Inferno square due to increased mana gain due to increased attack speed. On frontline squares, champions that are both tanky and attack speed reliant such as Olaf or Master Yi can be a great user of this square as well. One tip you can use is to place a support unit next to that vulnerable frontline carry such as Olaf or Yi who are using the Inferno square, with champions such as Karma, Taric, or Janna in order to really help that unit survive on the front line while still using that Hex square. In terms of Qiyana, it is easier to get Inferno synergy. However, since the synergy is already so easy to acquire since there are so many Inferno units, I would not go out of my way to utilize her in an Inferno composition unless it was already logical to go for an Inferno composition for this game. Instead, I would go for Blade Masters, Assassins, Rangers, or Berserkers. Lastly, Azir benefits the most from this square as he increases both his own attack speed and his soldiers' attacks while utilizing this square. Azir on the Inferno tile combined with the Blade Master item can yield wild results. For items, you really want to raise the priority of on-hit items such as Hush, Spear of Shojin, Giantslaye, Static Shiv, and many more. For defense, Frozen Heart gains a ton of value because now it reduces more attack speed than it normally would. You can even consider stacking Frozen Hearts to increase the radius of the effect to ensure that you hit all the Inferno tiles. While Zephyr is always a good item for any elemental map, it is especially shines in Inferno because it slows down the enemy's source of damage for just a few more seconds, which can make all the difference. Lastly, we have the Ocean map. This one gives a flat mana to the user of the Hex. Ocean is quite similar to Inferno as they both give damage or ability boost. Ocean is fantastic with champions that need to get their critical spells off before they die, so it works well with both tanks and carries. Units that are strong with Ocean are units who utilize mana items appropriately. Some examples include Veigar, Brand, Amumu, Lux, Zed, Taric, and Nami. All of these champions have high impact ultimates and can quickly take over games if they cast them just a tiny bit earlier. For Qiyana, her use is quite similar to Inferno maps. There are already so many oceans to choose from, so Qiyana is not a critical component of ocean compositions, but she still is useful as a standalone unit. Instead, I'd focus more on mage and summoner compositions. Having a Zed cast his first ultimate off faster means his clones will have higher health, which will then increase the chance of his clones getting another clone. Mages also make a lot of sense because they can get their double cast earlier, which means that a fight can be over right as the round begins. For example, I love having a Veigar 3 start the game with full mana, such as utilizing 2 tiers, plus the Ocean tile, to instantly wipe out 2 enemy units. For items, Spear of Shojin and Seraph's Embrace gain a ton of value on this map because they both rely on having the first spell cast. You could just get so many ultimates off just by using these items combined with the Ocean Tile. Stacking Azira with an Ocean Tile and Spear of Shojin can greatly accelerate her plans into snowballing a fight. Less frequently used items such as Ionic Spark and Luden's Echo gain value as well, both due to the fact that they rely on spells being casted faster. Lastly, Dragonclaw is a great item on this map since many users opt for spell-based compositions, so don't underestimate Dragonclaw. That's the best advice I can give you for adjusting your playstyle for every map. If you have other tips you'd like to share with the communities that I did not mention, or even share with me, leave me a message down in the comment section down below. If you guys like this content and want to see more about how to improve at TFT or get out of lower elos, don't be afraid to follow me on my other social media such as Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to share and subscribe, and of course smash that like button. Each like is an LP I gain before the next video.